What is happening, people? How you doing? It's your girl, Toyin here again. Welcome to my channel. And I'm here to tell you exactly what is happening. The topic of today is, can a relationship work even when both of you have nothing in common? And to discuss this with me today are three amazing people. These are my really good friends. And the first person is Ralph.
Hey everyone, how you doing? I'm Ralph. Me and Toyin know each other since 4 or 5 years.
Thanks, Ralph. And the next person is Ware May. Hello, May.
Hi guys. Hope you're well. I'm looking forward to this topic. It's going to be very, very juicy. Toyin and I, we go back a couple of years now, so I'm definitely looking forward to giving my input.
All right then. And the last but not the least is the usual guest in the house. He's not really a guest anymore. He just basically owns the show at this point, and he has the knowledge about every issue, every topic. And his name is Bern. Hi, Bern.
Hello, everyone. Again, I'm not a relationship expert, so I just give you my own opinion. Common opinions.
You're always saying that, but we know the truth anyway. We know the truth. Anyway, so basically, yeah. So basically, the topic again is, can a relationship work between two people, even if they don't have anything in common? So, you know, like, for instance, when I say relationship, I don't want to restrict it to when you're dating someone alone. It could be even in a marriage, you know, but let's just, because even in marriage is a type of relationship, isn't it? So let's just have that concept at the back of our minds. So, like, even in a marriage, it gets to a point where either you're talking with your spouse about the kids, or you're talking about bills, or you're talking about just general responsibilities around the home or the marriage. Aside from those things, you really have nothing else to talk about. You really have no shared interests. So you find that if there's nothing wrong with the kids, if there's nothing to do with when it comes to the bills or whatever, both of you can be in a very loud silence together, you know. Or you're dating someone, or maybe you're going on a date with someone, and you find out that, wow, this person's views are not really my views, or maybe they don't like the same things as you do. Like, you can like someone based on the looks, but after the looks, you then want to see if you have any shared or common interest, and you find out that this person, they don't like the same thing that I like. And then you think to yourself, is this going to work? So I think my question is, can a relationship thrive knowing that both of you are parallel lines in many ways, in many aspects? But can it still thrive? Can you look beyond the things that you don't have in common and still make the relationship work? And if you do make it work, what you have, do you think it will be enough to carry on and stabilize the relationship? What do you guys think? Who's gonna go first? Ralph? I only called Ralph because you're like number one on my screen.
Well, number one, is it? Thanks for that, Toyin.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good question you asked. In terms of love relationship, it won't work. Marriage, it can work. For example, I'll give you an example for marriage. There's people that get married because maybe that person has loads of money and they've got nothing in common. So that relationship ends up being like a convenience that they drag out, have kids, don't have much, probably doing something else on the side, but it's not really what I'd call a healthy relationship. In that way, it would work. But if you want a proper loving relationship, it won't work at all, because you need something where you both can tick and have that connection.
Yeah.
Even if it's one little thing. For example, my wife, we don't have too much in common, but what we do have in common is we're responsible and we're loyal towards people, and we have that sense of responsibility. So in that way, we're connected. So you have to have at least one kind of common thing in a loving relationship. Marriage, it could work, but it's not like that normal loving relationship. It will just be a convenience.
I agree with you to a certain extent, but before I say what I need to say, May, what do you think?
I mean, I definitely agree with what Ralph was saying, in the sense that there's different lenses which, you know, that answers your question. So on one hand, if you have nothing in common with somebody, but you're just looking to get together for the sake of marriage, children, making your family happy, then yeah, you will do what you need to do because you've both got that mutual agreement in place. I guess that's what you have in common, right? But if you're actually talking about a relationship whereby we're talking about love, we're talking about emotions, you know, pretty much you wearing your heart on the sleeve, you definitely do need to have some things in common. Because if not, you're pretty much in the former, which is what I described and which Ralph mentioned, i.e. this contractual marital obligation where you're satisfying, you know, either the family's needs, you know, versus the desires and the needs and wants of your heart. So yeah, it can work. You know, some people make it work. And what some people tend to do, they find out, okay, yeah, initially they didn't have nothing in common, but over time, as they grew, because obviously we're constantly evolving and changing in relationships, we don't just stay the same, you know, they either start to discover parts of their partner that they're like, wow, I really like that trait, it's very attractive, and they start finding shared goals and stuff like that in order to help push that relationship forward. So I think there's like different lenses you could view it, you know, view this from. But ultimately, if you're trying to say a relationship with no love, you know, working, it for me, it wouldn't.
Yeah, but I think a relationship with no love is kind of different to a relationship with no shared or common interests. Not everyone, even people who say love at first sight, I don't think what you see or what you feel at first sight can be called love, to be honest. No matter how much, even if you guys stay together for the next 80 years, it still doesn't mean the moment you see each other, what you felt at that point is love. So I think that's a whole different conversation. What do you say, Ben?
You know what? I agree somewhat with every single person in terms of what everyone said, and I actually went to say that, but Tony went on and said what I wanted to say about the conflicting being in love, the love part, and having shared interests. I feel like every single person in a relationship, either friendship, marriage, love relationship, they have something in common because there has to have been something to attract you both. Even I have friends who are in arranged marriages, and even they still share things in common in terms of there has to be one thing besides maybe the kids, besides maybe the monotonous aspects of their relationship, that things that it could just be maybe a shared hatred of a leader. But it has to be that, and I feel like I'm a strong believer also in opposites attract. So it doesn't have to be somebody that, you know, your in terms of your interests, in terms of your daily lives are very similar. Sometimes people that you have nothing in common with in terms of background, in terms of shared values, they do work out great, and the love element of it is tremendous sometimes. But then it's easier sometimes to be with somebody that you have a lot in common with, probably share the same language. Like I've been in relationships with people that don't speak my language, and whilst I prefer my language, if there is a lot more things that we have in common, I don't mind. Does that make sense? But I would love to speak the language of somebody where, you know, we're in the midst of a crowd.
Exactly, you know, and you can speak codedly.
But hold on, you're about to London. We don't have that anymore. Anyway, you go to
everyone speaks Yoruba now. Oh my God, it's so annoying.
So if you think I married somebody who's Yoruba, forget it.
You know what you just said. It just made me remember. There was a time I was I was in the public. I can't remember. Maybe I was on the train or somewhere. I wanted to speak Yoruba to my friend about something, but then I felt so conscious of everyone, even the white people. I was looking at who understands Yoruba. Everyone understands Yoruba now, so I wasn't really sure. Should I just whisper it? Should I just write some on paper?
Even though you don't understand Yoruba now.
Yeah.
I almost fainted. was like, ah! He spoke like that. I had to look around like, hold on, you're an Oyibo, oh Jesus.
You know, you said something about opposites attract. Generally, I feel like I feel like in life, there's no absolute situation. It's like when you say all men are this or all men are that, the word all is not really, should not really be the case. It doesn't really apply in every case. There will always be exceptions to the rule. Yeah. So even though maybe for the most part, opposites do attract, but when it comes to relationships and being with someone you have nothing in common with, opposites don't always have to attract, and sometimes they could attract. We know that there are people who have made their marriage or their relationships work even despite all their differences, despite the fact that they're both parallel lines. You know, we know that definitely. I guess this takes me to my next question, which is having something or some things in common with someone, or rather, should I say, does having something or some things in common with someone guarantee a successful relationship? Do you want to go first, May?
I don't think so. I don't think just because you have things in common, it guarantees success. Because ultimately, for any relationship to work, there has to be commitment.
Yeah.
You know, there has to be, I guess, a clear vision of what you guys want your relationship to be, I guess the end destination, or, how you want to navigate through wherever you're going in your relationship. So it's not just about having shared things in common, because sometimes you can find people that they do have shared things in common, but then unfortunately they can never agree on whatever, shared values that, they have in common. And I know it sounds a bit oxymoron, but it could be a thing, well, yeah, we both like exercising, but he prefers to always run and she prefers to always be in the gym. And he gets frustrated because she never wants to come running because she just feels like she can't run. And she gets frustrated because, he never wants to be in the gym. So I think that's just like a random example I'm throwing out there. But I don't believe just because you have shared values, it means it equates to success.
What do you think, guys?
Next?
Yeah.
All right. I for one, I don't really. I'm one of those people where I don't want to share a lot in common with whoever I'm with, because
really, that's rather weird.
It'll be boring, because I feel like take for instance, if what we have in common is something that we can talk about, then it's like two people just talking. I feel like a relationship works with somebody listening and somebody talking, and vice versa. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So take for instance, I'm always around footballers, right? Not footballers, football fans, and I'm not a football fan. I like to pretend I am. If you ask me now, I'll tell you Arsenal. I'll tell you that's like. But anyway, my point is, I'm always around football fans, and in as much as I'm not a big fan myself, a lot of times we can have a conversation about football where I'm just saying, yeah, and the score, yeah, that goal, ooh. Then we have a whole conversation about it, and I've had a 45-minute conversation where I had no clue what this guy was talking about. All I was just saying was, yeah, right, that was crazy, wasn't it? Wow, really? And we had a full 45-minute conversation. I'm not saying that
and she didn't pick up on your lack of commitment to the conversation.
Not sometimes, we just want to talk. We just want to talk. So, I feel like practicing that lesson works a lot more. I feel like, look, shared interests, I don't think is as important as having that great communication. I feel like that is what makes and breaks relationships and marriages. So we don't have to have anything shared, but if we can communicate, even not even about the things that we do share, even about things that we don't share. Because I would, if I love somebody, I would want to know more about them.
Yeah.
And I don't have to love what they do or what they are or what they like, but I could at least understand it and maybe support that. Because a lot of times that's what really counts, isn't it? So take for instance, if I got 2 left feet, but my girl likes to dance, then maybe I could support her in the stands and let her, go to dance class and be there with her. That sort of thing. I don't know.
Ralph,
No,
what are you thinking?
no, I agree with the aspects of what my fellow guests are saying, especially nothing is guaranteed in life at all. So you can't guarantee just because you have everything in common that it's going to work. I do know a few couples. They share everything together. They do everything together. Watch everything on Netflix the same. I don't know how they do that, to be fair, but I mean, that's what you call
like that's too much quality time. Too much quality time.
Way too much.
super perfect Barbie and Ken relationships, but it happens.
Yeah.
At the same time, the other thing that, I mean, it's not always important to share everything in common, but for example, if you have certain little things in common, say you don't like football, the other person does, then you like to find out what they like, so you can come to compromise on all kinds of stuff. Even when you talk on subjects, when the other person is a bit more negative thinking and you're positive, if you're good at communicating and you're good at coming to a compromise is another thing which keeps things going. Nothing is guaranteed, but it does help when you have other things in common. But at the same time, if you're really good at communicating and good at compromising, and it's down to you as a person, then you can get along with a lot of people. I mean, I feel that when I'm with people, even if it's friendship, I can get along with people that you probably wouldn't realize that I get along with. Like, for example, in our family, they're like 80-year-old retired doctors and stuff, and I can go and sit with them and make a nice conversation, and we'll both be laughing at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So it's all about compromise and communication when it comes to all kinds of relationships, in my opinion.
All right, so I want us to think about this. I don't know, maybe you're going to speak from general knowledge or maybe from personal experience. It's really up to you. But if or when a person is dating, or when two people are in a relationship, or they're thinking of dating, or maybe just sourcing each other out, do you think they have to have that shared interest? They have to have shared interest before they decide to take the relationship to the next level. So, okay, let me streamline it to, you're already dating anyway. So do you both have to have shared interest before you decide, okay, let's go, I can take this to the next level and, think about getting this person engaged? Does there have to be those shared interests before one can make such a decision to move things forward? Do you think it's necessary?
I feel like Ralph is the most qualified. I feel like Ralph is the most qualified to answer this. He's married.
Wait, no. You May and Ben, both of you might still be single, but it's something that you should be able to connect with as well, because you're at that point. I believe that you're at that point where you should be thinking about stuff like that as well. So is this something that you would think of? Do you have to have those shared interests with that person before you decide, I want to move forward?
Let's hear from Ralph, then I will go next.
I'm dating somebody and there's something that we kind of like. So say, for example, I like Caribbean food. And they say, yeah, like, that gives you something to start a little conversation with.
Yeah.
It helps, it gives it a boost, so that we're interested. If I sit there and the person says, I like opera, I don't like going to parties, I don't like going to certain areas, I hate these countries, I hate this, I hate that, and you're sitting there thinking, okay. It depends what it is. It wouldn't like kick off that little spark. So you need something, at least something in common to kick off that spark. Dating, or when you're seeing, the person you want to marry, there has to be something that helps,
So for you, there has to be something that helps.
Something, yeah.
If there isn't anything, there's no point proceeding like with the relationship.
I feel that I don't think it'll.
So there's no prospect of Well, we can move forward. At least maybe we have shared values, or so. I guess the interest can, come up later on.
I'll tell you what. Common in terms of not like materialistic things. It's it's um it's by the personality. So if you see that person, she seems caring, because you can see it by the way she talks, the way she comes across. If that is in common with you, then that does sometimes get things rolling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with Ralph in the sense that there has to at least be an element of something that you both find common ground on in order to start to initiate those conversations and to build in and to be open in trying to explore more about this person. If not, what's the point? What's the point of trying to start something with somebody that you have zero regards for? For me, it just doesn't make sense. It defeats the purpose of the why, in my personal opinion anyway. We're talking about relationship. And for me, a relationship, you have to, in my personal opinion, you have to lead with love. So you have to lead and be open to really trying to get to know this person in their whole entirety. But for you to even say you're going to be willing to do that, there has to be something shared.
Okay. Bern.
I agree somewhat, but I like the fact that everyone's perspective can be different regarding this. I feel like it's down to everyone's personal preference in terms of what do I prefer. Like, but I do feel like relationships work a lot better if like, take for instance, Ralph said something earlier about, take for instance, like the one person likes opera, the other person likes maybe football. Imagine opera and football happening at the same time. What where would the conflict be in that situation?
Yeah.
So could that then result in a kind of situation where you're hanging out with your friends more than your relationship? So it's like, oh yeah, you got opera, okay. What, can you go with your friends? Yeah, sure. I'll go football with my friends, and then I'll spend a lot more time. We're spending a lot less time with each other, and that could overall cause a lot more friction than having a loving relationship. So, but then some people do find ways to make it work. I don't know. Just one of those kind of scenarios where I feel like it's down to each person what you're prepared to sacrifice in terms of commitment and in terms of compromise, I think.
Okay. So I feel like we all agree to
having something in common.
Yeah, to different extents that two people have to have some level of shared or common interest for at least to kickstart things. But just looking a bit deeper for me, if we go beyond that a little bit, I know you gave the example of opera and was it football you said, yeah?
Yeah, football, yeah.
So what about, we know that majority of men like football, and we're not talking about Bern, okay? But majority of men like football, and many women like shopping, for instance. Some men go with their wives shopping, or some guys go with a girlfriend shopping, and they just moan throughout the time. And women, you might as well just kill them by telling them to come sit down and watch football with their men. So, but can each person, isn't that where compromise comes in? Or do we think compromise only comes in if the relationship has gone past just dating, if it's now advanced into marriage? So does compromise only work when both of you are already married, and it doesn't work before you start to have anything concrete with the person?
Let me answer this. I think a good example for this would be, I've seen qualities in this person I like, right? But then there are some big major things that we don't have in common. So take for instance, something like, maybe what matters to me is being able to spend time watching Netflix, right? Called up during the evening, under a blanket, the both of you. But then maybe she doesn't like that. Maybe she likes to be outgoing. Maybe she likes to go out shopping and dancing and all of that. But then you see qualities in this person that you like. So like, okay, I'm just gonna have to find a way to compromise because I do want to be with this person, but we don't necessarily have the things that I value not in common. But I would want to put what I value most, which would probably be our relationship, over any of that. And say, you know what? Yeah, we'll figure a way to make it work.
Okay. What are you thinking, May?
For me, I think compromise has to start from the beginning. I don't think it's a situation where you wait till you're married for you to start compromising in your relationship, because again, it's your reality in terms of you wake up, if you are with somebody who's your partner, your husband, your wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is, there are going to be times where you do need to compromise. So again, it comes back to having that mutual understanding, because for some people, they probably don't want to get married. For some people, they do. So either way, you shouldn't necessarily wait.
Some people want to get married, but they don't know it.
Yes, and with that as well. I mean, I think it's just, understanding, having a clear understanding that relationship is give and take. So therefore, you can't expect for you to be at a certain stage within a relationship before you start learning how to compromise, because if not, when you do happen to have a misunderstanding, but because you're lacking the importance in compromising, it could have detrimental effects. So compromise, I believe, starts from the minute you both agree you want to be together.
Yeah, but with compromise, I feel like compromise only comes in after you've considered the non-negotiable aspects. Yeah, there are some things that are not negotiable, and other things that are left after that, then you compromise. Isn't that how compromise works, right? So that means, again, we're all still saying, majority of us are saying that there will have to be some shared interests, and in other aspects that we don't see eye to eye or we don't have anything in common, then we can compromise. Is that what this is about? Yeah.
For me, I would say yes, in terms of your latter, that, regardless if there are some areas where you love the person for who they are, they like everything to do with what they're passionate about. And it may be something like astrology or opera, like Ralph has said, and, as Bernie stated, if one wants to go to the opera and the other wants to go to the football match, you will have to compromise. Yes, you want to spend time together, but then it's a scenario whereby you compromise and you just say, look, let's go hang out with our friends. However, let's take this time, let's make a time whereby we are ensuring we're having date night and, we're getting in that quality time. But ultimately, you can do that at any stage, but I believe it should be from the onset of knowing that if I'm choosing to be with this person, there are going to be times whereby I have to compromise in order for us to keep progressing forward.
Okay, so I'm going to read, I think we all agree anyway that if two people share, interest and goals, life is easier, to be fair. So there has to be, a little bit of shared interest at the beginning. So I'm going to read something from a study that I found online.
Go on.
So basically, it's the first one is a research by Geiger and Livingston, 2019. And it found that 64% of couples with shared interests believe that this helped their marriages, while the second one is a study by a person called Boscho, and this was in 2020. So they reported that having no common interest was one of the major reasons couples cited for divorce. Now I'm thinking, what sort of subsection of the society did they carry out this survey or study on, because for me, I feel like we're all talking about shared interests, common goals. There has to be the spark, there has to be, but I feel like all of these things are very superficial. And the reason why I say this is this. For me, having shared interests is important. I'm not even going to take away from it, all right? But why I don't necessarily feel is the most important thing is because interests are things that come and go. I can almost tell you, in fact, actually, I can tell you 100% that this time 10 years ago, the sort of things I used to like to do, I don't even do them anymore. I've moved on to other things. So if anyone wanted to date me at that point, and they liked me because of those interests that I shared with them, by today, we may not be together again because my interests have then moved on to something else. So for me, I feel like interests are very finicky. They change. They're not constant. And I feel like that shouldn't be the most important thing to look out for when one is gonna start a relationship or go into a marriage, or and sometimes, yes, even if we start a relationship out based on shared interest, I think what keeps you together for the long term is shared values. You have to have shared values, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't have shared values, both of you are wasting your time. So if your interests come, if the interest that you both shared, if it fades away, what exactly are you going to be holding on to later on? I don't know what you guys think.
Imagine your interest was the hatred of Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is gone now. What happened?
Exactly. Exactly. Ralph, what are you thinking? I don't think Ralph agrees. I think it's all about the interest for you, right?
Shared values.
No. I kind of agree, because the question was if you have something in common. That includes characteristics and interests. So the characteristics, your personality is more important than interest. If you don't share anything personality-wise, say you are a humble person and I'm a complete, egomaniac, and other, personality-wise, all kind of characteristics like that, we'll probably never get along. That's the most important thing. If we don't get along, we're not going anywhere. We'll both be running off a cliff or something like that. So personality-wise is more important than interests. Obviously, interest comes next as well, because the more that you share in common, the better it is. But personality-wise, if you don't have anything in common, then that's definitely not going to work.
Chalk and cheese, basically.
Yeah, anyone that can come up to me, say that they getting along with somebody with a completely different personality, they're either lying or they've been drugged and sent to me.
Basically, that means your values form the bedrock of your personality. Is that what you're saying, Ralph?
Yeah, personality characteristics, they have to, get along first.
Align with your values, yeah.
And I think in a way that's what all of us have been trying to say. That interests are great, but values, personality, characteristics, that's absolute.
But then, sorry, you're saying?
I said that's the non-negotiables. The not negotiable.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you don't want to. I don't see. Maybe it works for some people, but if you go into a relationship, especially long-term relationship, and you and this person, I know some people have made it work, because I know some people of opposing religions have somehow remained in a marriage. I don't know how people do it.
But with the religion one, I think they find a common ground in the common value that both religions share.
Yeah.
So in a way,
religion shares, I think that you find the common ground in each other, like in terms of which you both share as opposed to your religion. But then again, it depends what lens you want to look at it from. Are you looking at it from a spiritual lens, or are you looking at it from a human nature kind of lens?
Let me ask a very, very silly question. I've seen extremely good people get with extremely bad people. How does that work? Because
no. The extremely good people you're talking about, they must have some dodgy, I don't know, underlying issue in their character. I don't know.
Trait.
An extremely good person will be with no. There's something wrong with the good person. The bad person is perfectly okay, but there's something wrong with the good person. Ralph, you were saying something earlier.
No, I mean, I have friends, Afro-Caribbean friends. I have Filipino friends. I have Japanese friends. You get along with everyone. I think this is where personality comes in, characteristics come in. So I'll get along with my, I'll get along with my, friend from Sierra Leone, who's Christian. I'll get along with him better than few of my Muslim friends from same country as me, Pakistan, because they're probably egomaniacs and they're stubborn in other characteristics. Whereas my friend from Sierra Leone is down to earth and humble, and we both get along on, like certain interests. So it all comes down to you, personality. Personality-wise is like the basis, is the root of the person. It's the root of the tree. So you're like a tree. The root is the personality. After that, everything branches out into interests and,
It's funny because I had an analogy like that. So basically, I was thinking it's like building a house. You build the concrete house, the structure is great, the foundation is great. And for me, that forms the values, the shared values that both of you have. Whilst the interest would just be maybe you're decorating with your plants and flowers and whatever. So, and these sort of plants and flowers, you can come next year and say, I don't want roses this year. Maybe I want orchids this time around. So that's how interests come and go. But the main structure of the house, which is the shared value, remains in place, and it stands the time.
It's a good analogy.
Okay.
And likewise, your roots and your tree analogy as well, Ralph. It's a good one.
Yeah. We're all humans, and let's not even try and beat around the bush. When you first meet someone, for instance, the first thing that catches your eye is their looks, all right? And
shallow.
Huh?
Shallow.
No, forget it. We're all very shallow like that.
Toyin's making a point in the sense that, unfortunately, we live in a world whereby we're visual creatures.
Yes, we are.
Aesthetics, for some weird reason,
yeah.
Initially, but we're not saying that is the most important thing when you are reaching out your lifelong partner or spouse or whatever you want to call it. But initially, it's never love at first sight. That does not, in my personal opinion, does not exist. At times, it's either lost at first sight, because of that aesthetics. But you have to, I guess, be somebody who is able to look past this whole lust at first sight, in terms of knowing that lust doesn't equate to those values and belief systems, and peeling those layers and understanding what is this person about, what do they possess from a values perspective, and do those values align with yours? Therefore, that enables you to know if you have that equilibrium of shared values and belief system.
Yeah, very correct. Yeah, which is, the point. The point I was trying to make was that we start out with the superficial stuff, but only a sensible person who knows what they want for their future will then be able to, okay, now I've established the initial thing, which is I like what you look like, and we have a few things in common here and there. Then you then need to look beyond those two. What's going to carry us through the future? What's going to help us to stand the test of time? And looks are not going to help you.
No, at all.
Even your shared interests are not going to help you. And you may not agree with this, but even love is not going to help you. Love is not going to help you either. And I feel bad for saying this, but it's just the reality of things. People start out loving each other, but then challenges would always come. And life hasn't promised any one of us a bed of roses. So when the challenges come, that's when you know who really loves who. So the love that you profess for each other is not even going to help you at some point. So for me, I still feel like the values will help. And so again, my structure what I think is, first of all, get the values sorted.
Mm-hmm.
Once that is sorted, and you can tell that, okay, I can tell that me and this person, we may fall out over a lot of issues. We may not see eye to eye when it comes to interest and all of that, but we've established that fundamentally we have the same shared values. Then after that, every other thing you apply two things, find compromise and common grounds. And I think that will be the recipe for a very good and lasting relationship.
Yeah.
You all agree?
Absolutely. I agree, 100%.
Ralph doesn't agree. He's shaking his head.
Told you, man.
All right,
Really?
then.
I think you've definitely, like, collectively, we've come to agreement in terms of the key facets for a somewhat, healthy relationship, i.e., you do need to have something in common, being your values. So yeah.
Excellent.
Okay, guys, let me ask it's somewhat a biblical, and I think it's in the Quran as well. But does the love overcome all?
Okay. I expected someone to bring that up. I didn't want to really go into all of that because that would then open another Pandora's box. May just go off the tangent of this discussion. But I'm gonna address what you just said. When I said what I said, the love I was referring to wasn't the love, the biblical love, even though that's what really should be the order of the day. But in the world that we live in,
what kind of love are y'all having in marriages? Y'all need to know. If it's unconditional, I need to know.
Look, let me tell you what, unless we're going to be deceiving ourselves, when people, the way the world uses love nowadays, let's not deceive ourselves, it's not biblical love. End of, all right?
I
trust. So, the way the world uses love nowadays, unless we want to deceive ourselves, it is not biblical love. Because you only need to find one serious challenge, one serious hiccup in the relationship, and you will find that the relationship cannot even withstand it. They're gonna crack. So I feel like when the world says love, I think they really mean lust, as far as I'm concerned. Even people who have been together for donkey years, I wouldn't say they don't love each other. But anyone who has been together for many years, say I've seen couples who have celebrated 65, 70 years together. I can genuinely say maybe they do really love each other, because there's no way you'd have been 70 years together and life wouldn't have thrown some serious things your way. You would have been through some crazy things in life during those 70 years. So for you to be together, maybe those people fall in the very small, or should I say minority, of the people who genuinely love each other. But for the most part, I'm not sure genuine love really exists amongst many other couples in the world. And I think maybe that was what I was really referring to.
Okay.
I understand. I respect that. My next question is, should you go into a long-term relationship if you don't feel like there's that ability to have that unconditional love for that person? Because I want to be able to love my wife the same way I love my kids, unconditionally.
Okay.
That's a very idealistic.
I'm going to answer your question.
Okay, he wants to answer.
Give it to him.
Love for your kids is different to your love of your wife. You can't compare it. The love for your mom is different to the love for your wife.
Oh my God.
Love comes from love.
Is it possible at all?
Is it possible? Sorry, can you repeat the question again? Is it possible
is it possible to develop the same kind of unconditional love that you would have for your kids, for your mom, for your wife?
Oh, because they're different.
Of course, it is. It's very possible.
Like you love your wife, are you? You're not going to love your mom like you love your wife, are you? You're not going to love your dad like you love your wife.
Ralph, I think you need to get your mind out of that dirty gutter, okay?
Take the sex away from it.
Love is from the heart, and the love is projected to different people in a natural way. So the way you love your wife, it comes out, you know, naturally how you love that person. You're not going to see your wife the same way that you see other family members or your kids. Kids are different, you know. You love them like your kids, like they're your, you know, offspring. You're gonna love your wife because she's been with you throughout and she's the mother of your kids. You're gonna love your mum because she gave birth to you and did everything for you. So love is projected in a different way, but it all comes down to the heart, isn't it?
I get it. I respect that.
So, do we think that there are things that life can throw our way that could make us not love our spouse anymore, but it could never, if life throws some other challenges towards our way, towards the relationship we have with our parent, our mom, for instance, but no matter what it is, nothing that bond will never be broken. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, do we think that irrespective of whatever life throws at us, our bond with our parents or our mom would always be intact, but the one with the spouse can easily break?
Let me ask you a question to answer that. If God forbid, this will never be our portion. But if there were to be a plane about to crash, so you're on that plane, right? Your wife is on that plane, your kids are on that plane, and your mom is on that plane, and you have a choice because you are not getting thrown out of that plane. Who are you throwing out of that plane?
I'm not. Can we say this off record? I'm gonna answer you, but off record.
Off record. Confidential information.
I do not want to be held.
Safe space.
Correct question to ask anyone. That is that can't even be asked. That question shouldn't even exist.
Yeah, it's not nice. It's not from a place of love.
You got some deep stuff in your head, you know.
No, do you know what? Funny story. I don't know, Toyin, I don't know if KJ ever asked you that question. Because that was the question I asked to know what course we're gonna be on. It was like, I want to know whether you're gonna be a BA or you're gonna be a PM.
Maybe he did, but I can't remember.
And what was your answer? Don't lie.
But
you're an act of God. Don't lie.
Maybe he did. I can't remember. But I have actually come across that question in some riddles that I saw in a book somewhere, and the answers were quite funny. Some people say they take their spouse. Some people said they'll take their spouse because they can lose their child, but they could always have another child with their spouse.
I never understood that.
And the people who said they would take their spouse, some other people said they will still take their spouse and lose their mom because the mom has lived her own life, so she can go.
I heard that
Everyone had different answers to the question, but I don't know. I don't know if I've ever told anyone.
I don't mean to dampen the mood with this answer, but if you asked me that question maybe 5 years ago, and let's assume that maybe in that kind of question, in that kind of scenario, say my mom was maybe in her late 90s and she was already, you know, she's been there, done that. If you asked me that question maybe like 5 years ago, you said, oh, what would you choose? The analyst in me would have chosen, oh, my mom's lived a good life, I would throw it out. But I haven't experienced my dad passing. If you ask me that question now, I'm sorry, it's not my mom. My mom's not going anywhere. My children are not going anywhere. My children are definitely not going anywhere.
No, it's your wife. Bernie saying that he can always replace you.
I will play this video for your future wife. I will play this video for your future wife.
I don't care how my mom lives. She's not going anywhere. My children are not going anywhere. Sorry. It was a tough choice, but
I hope the viewers learn something from this.
Yeah.
Learn that if they can try to find something to look for in that person that's common with them, that might help them. People that are difficult in finding relationships, finding that person to connect with. If they are trying to find a good quality in that person when they go and meet them, something that they shared, then that might help them. That's the lesson that hopefully they'll learn from it.
Yeah.
Okay. Any last words, Bern?
No, I respect that totally. I totally agree with Ralph on that. So, let's end on that because that's just the best word of wisdom we have.
All right. So basically, guys, find the person that shares the same values with you And no one is going to condemn you if you also look out for shared interests, because shared interests kind of help to rekindle or to keep the relationship and the fire burning, the fire of the relationship burning. So interests can never be discounted whatsoever. But the very important one is that you have the same values. You know, when you want to talk about the kids, how you raise your kids, you want to be on the same page with this person. You don't want to be the one that's very lenient with the kids and you let your kids run amok with no manners, while your partner believes in raising kids of good character and manners. That is not going to work. You're going to destroy the kids because you're going to go that way north, and the other person believes they need to go south, because both of you have been brought up in different ways. So it's very important to have shared values when it comes to savings, when it comes to raising your kids, when it comes to, you know, just the foundations that make life generally, and every other thing can be added on, like your interests. So I think that's what we've all been able to take away from today. And I'd like to say thank you to all you three for joining me, Ralph, May, and Bern.
Thank you.
I hope
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, I hope you all enjoy the rest of your days. And
Like,
so to everyone else, if you enjoyed our session today, please like, share the video, and subscribe to my channel, because if you don't, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this life.
no worries.
Guys, thanks a lot for joining me.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.